Hi, and welcome to this intro tutorial to web scraping with Python. We are going to be scraping some finance data from Yahoo Finance today. In particular, this little table here in the corner. Um, the main reason is because this is some interesting data, small enough to just get started and show you the features of these packages that we're going to use. And the main prereq for this video is just having Python installed, preferably Python 3. Um, any version works, Python 3.4, Python 3.5, 3.6, and also some packages to make sure that the scraping will work. Those two packages are the requests and the beautiful soup package. If you have trouble installing those, please watch another video that will show how to install those. But right now, we're just going to get started, assuming that Python and everything else is up and running on your computer. So first we need to import the packages into our session. And we have the requests module, and this is what interacts with the internet. And then we also have the beautiful soup package. However, the way that it's formatted, you have to do it this way because the package is actually called BS4, and we're grabbing the beautiful soup object from that package. And if you, as I mentioned before, if you have trouble installing these, we'll show the pip install in another video how to do that. So first, to go back to this site, we need the URL there, and let's go like, this is how we create a variable in Python. We just say the name of the variable equals whatever we want, and in this case we want the URL to be that variable. And this is how we connect with that website on the internet. So what I'm doing here is essentially the same thing as going to a browser, typing in this URL, and this request package is going to go to that URL, grab everything, and put it in this variable called response. So now if I start up Python here and install those, and it went to the website and got a response. If I just look at the variable, it's showing me response 200, which means that it went there, got the data, and it came back and put the data in this variable. 200 means all is good. People might be familiar with a 404 error, which means that it's not found, but right now, however, just typing response here and seeing 200 is not so helpful for what we want to see. So the data is actually contained in this text variable that's within response. Dots are ways to access stuff that's within the variable. So if I run that there, if I type response.txt, we see a whole bunch of HTML here. This actually kind of looks like JavaScript up here, but at the bottom we can see, yeah, there's script tag, body, HTML. And obviously to hunt through this for our data is not so easy or desirable. So what we do to this is we put beautiful soup on top of it, which will turn it in to something we can work with. I just happen to call it BS object for beautiful. Now, this took this just long string of HTML and put it into this BS object. And as you can see, if I run that, it formatted it a little bit differently, but it's still giving us the same data. So now we have all the HTML. We got to figure out what to do with it. And what we can do is go back to this page, and we got to hunt through to see what we want. I'm on Chrome. I right-clicked here, and I clicked on Inspect. And when you inspect it here, you can kind of highlight all this stuff. and see, just kind of go back and forth, and it shows you what what tag is highlighting right now. And if I go up here, this is a little too much. This looks like what I want. And so what's good here is that there's an ID of quote summary on this table. And what's good about IDs is that normally there's only one that exists in the entire page. So if I look for a quote summary, I'm only going to get this. Versus a class, say this is BXBB, BXBB, it repeats for a lot of these. So if I'm searching for BXBB, I'm going to get all of these back. That might not be such a problem if I know I'm looking for something and I don't know what this means, but let's say it means, bold 12-point font, and I want to find everything that's bold 12-point font on the page, then that's great. But right now, I just want this area, so I'm going to copy quote summary, go back to here, and the way that we find it is there's two methods that we can use to find. First is just to use bsobject.find, or we can use find all. Obviously, the difference between find and find all is find just finds the first one. Find all finds everything. So if you have 20 elements on the page that are, as I said, 12-point font bold that you're looking for, and they have that certain class, you'll get a list of a dozen of those elements coming back. If you only do find on that, you'll only get the first one. So in this situation, it doesn't really matter what we're doing for find or find all. We're just going to get one back anyway. I usually like to use find all here just because I know I'm getting one. I'm going to use find, and I'm going to call this my table. And as you can see here, it's just, so if it found the table and it's just giving us back the data that's in the table. You can kind of look in here and see that it says, market cap value, volume 3 months of average volume. So, the stuff is here, but still it's not so easy to see. So now that we have my table, I'm going to do a find all on the table rows. So I'm just going to call this my rows. And the reason why I did find all on my table instead of this, you can think of, when you do find, it's like chopping this down to something smaller. If I just do tr find all on this beautiful soup object, it's going to give me rows from other parts of the page. And I don't want those. I just want the rows that are within the table that we found here. So obviously I could have chained this up like this to first do that, then chop it down, and then jump down that way. But I feel this is a little bit more clean to have the table separate and then the rows separate here. So we have the rows, and because it's a list, I can look through. There's row 1, row 2, and you see here it says previous close, open, like that. And similar to the response object that has text, it just so happens that there's a text element here, so we can get the text from here. What this is doing, though, is it's getting all the text that's within all of these down here, which might not necessarily be what we want, because it's just grabbing everything and throwing it all together. We want these separated. So now we can actually break this down one more time. So my rows dot find all td. Actually, I'm going to break this down like this. So we'll just break it down for one row, and I'll show you why I'm doing this in just a moment. So that's the first cell, and that's the second cell, just from the first row. And if I do my cells, zero dot text, my cells dot one dot text, this will give me the data for that first row. So the reason I did this is because I can go back here, so I have my rows, and we can actually loop through all the rows using a for loop. For cells in my rows. So now this will go through as a loop, and I can say that that's, cells like that, because even though here I had to kind of go into the first, row, it's going to go through each one at a time. So I can ignore that, and then let's just show this. And as you can see here, it went through every row that I had in the table because I arranged it that way. So it loops through every row, and then it looks through for every row that's in there, it looks for all the cells, so it knows that there's 2. And then I'm just printing out, the text of the first one, which is at 0, and the second one, which is at 1. So I print out the text, and I have it all right there. So this actually is not as useful as just going to the web page and looking at it there. It would be more useful if we stored it somewhere in a variable. So what I can do now is I'll actually put the dictionary up there. And what I can do with this is a dictionary has keys and values. A way to think about that is values are things that change, keys are things that don't normally change. So previous close is always going to be the same. When I come to this site, this is always going to be here, but this number will change based on, every single day. Open will stay the same, this will change. So anything that stays the same, I'm going to want to be a key, and then anything that might change, that'll be the value. So similarly here, at the end of it, I can print out my dict, put some more spacing here, and I have to define the dictionary first. And I print it out because I have the print on, but now that I have my dict, it has everything stored in my dict there. And what's good about this is later, if you have an application or something that you're making, you can look for previous close. It's going to give me that back. Even better, I can call this make this. So let's say I have key as previous close. So this line stays the same. Now it gives me that number back. I change key to bid, give the same thing, and then it gives those numbers back. So basically what we did today was we imported these requests and Beautiful Soup packages into Python. We went to the Yahoo Finance site to scrape Amazon's stock price and went through and transformed the data to put into a dictionary that we can then access later. To go through the code briefly again, we made the request and transformed it in Beautiful Soup. We looked for the quote summary ID to find the table, and then we found all the rows that were in that table. We made the dictionary so that we could then store everything in that dictionary. And this just went through all the rows and all the cells and put them in the dictionary that we could then access later. I hope that this video was informative and helpful. If you have any questions or any comments, please note them here, and we'll be coming out with more videos to build upon this and then get more insights and information and data to play with in the future. Thanks for watching.